Welcome to the channel, the Coinlore Vault. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? We're talking about the 1992 Washington quarter, a coin so ordinary looking that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. This single quarter, minted in Denver back in 1992, has sold at auction for an absolutely mind-blowing $1.1 million. Yes, you heard that right. Over $1 million for a quarter that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. And before we dive deep into why this particular coin commands such an astronomical price, let me tell you something that's going to keep you glued to this video. We've got another Washington quarter coming up that sold for even more than this one, but I'm not revealing which year or how much just yet. You'll have to stick around to find out because trust me, when you hear the story behind that second coin, your jaw is going to hit the floor. Now, let's get back to this 1992 quarter that changed someone's life forever. The story begins in Denver at the United States Mint, where millions upon millions of Washington quarters were being struck for circulation. The Denver Mint, identified by that small D mint mark you'll find on the obverse of the coin just behind Washington's neck, was operating at full capacity during the early 1990s, producing coins to meet America's growing demand for pocket change. But something extraordinary happened during the production of these 1992 quarters. Something that would create one of the most valuable error coins in modern American numismatics. You see, the minting process involves multiple steps and incredible precision. The blank planchets are fed into massive presses that strike them with tremendous force using dies that contain the designs we see on our coins. These dies are supposed to be perfectly aligned. They're supposed to create crisp, clean impressions. They're supposed to work flawlessly together to produce identical coins by the millions. But machinery isn't perfect and human oversight isn't infallible. And when things go wrong at a mint, the results can be absolutely spectacular for collectors. The specific error that makes certain 1992 Washington quarters worth over $1 million is what numismatists call a dramatic off-center strike combined with a wrong planchet error. Imagine this scenario. A planchet intended for a different denomination somehow made its way into the quarter production line. Already you've got a wrong planchet situation, which is rare enough. But then during the striking process, the dies weren't properly aligned. The result was a coin where the design is struck significantly off-center, sometimes showing only 40% or 50% of the intended design. With blank planchet visible on one side, these errors are called off-center strikes, and they're graded by what percentage of the design is missing. A 10% off-center might be interesting, but a 50% off-center is absolutely remarkable, especially when you can still see the date clearly, because without that date, the coin loses most of its collectible value. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. The 1992 quarter that sold for $1.1 million wasn't just any off-center strike. It was what collectors call a broad strike error combined with a partial collar error, meaning the collar that normally holds the planchet in place during striking wasn't fully engaged. This allowed the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter, creating a coin that's slightly larger than a regular quarter with dramatic irregular edges. The design elements that did strike are incredibly bold and clear. You can see every detail of Washington's profile. Every letter that made it onto the planchet is razor sharp, and that D mint mark stands out like a beacon telling you this came from Denver. But the blank area where the strike didn't reach is equally fascinating. It's like looking at a coin that's half-born, frozen in the moment of creation. Collectors absolutely go crazy for these kinds of errors because they represent something that should never have escaped the mint. There are quality control measures in place, inspectors who are supposed to catch these anomalies, automated systems designed to reject imperfect strikes. Yet somehow this coin made it through all those safeguards and entered circulation. Can you imagine being the person who first discovered they had this in their pocket change, pulling out a quarter to buy a candy bar and noticing something was dramatically wrong with it? Having the presence of mind to recognize this wasn't damage but a genuine mint error. And then having it authenticated and graded only to discover they were holding over $1 million in their hand. The authentication process for high-value error coins like this is incredibly rigorous. The coin must be submitted to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, where expert numismatists examine it under high magnification. They're looking for signs of post-mint damage. They're checking to make sure the error is genuine and not the result of someone trying to artificially create an error coin. They're analyzing the metal composition to confirm it's the right alloy. They're studying the die characteristics to verify it was actually struck at the Denver Mint in 1992. And once all those checks are complete and the coin is deemed authentic, it gets encapsulated in a tamper-proof holder with a unique certification number and a grade that reflects its condition. Speaking of condition, the 1992 D-quarter that achieved that $1.1 million price was in phenomenal condition for an error coin, graded MS67, which stands for Mint State 67 on the Sheldon scale that runs from 1 to 70. An MS67 coin is nearly flawless, with only the most minute imperfections visible under magnification. The surfaces are lustrous and original. There's no cleaning, no polishing, no environmental damage. Just a stunning example of what happens when a major mint error occurs on a coin that somehow remained in pristine condition. And remember that second quarter I mentioned earlier, the one that sold for even more than this already incredible $1.1 million. Well, we're getting closer to revealing that one, but first you need to understand just how rare these high-value Washington quarter errors really are. The United States Mint produces billions of quarters every single year. In 1992 alone, the Denver Mint struck over 389 million Washington quarters for circulation. That's 389 million opportunities for errors to occur. Yet confirmed major errors from that year number in the dozens at most. Perhaps only a few exist with this particular combination of errors in this exceptional condition. That scarcity is what drives prices into the stratosphere. It's not just about having an error, it's about having the right error in the right condition with the right level of rarity, and this 1992 D-quarter checked all those boxes perfectly. Now let's talk about what happens when one of these coins comes up for auction, because the drama and excitement in those auction rooms is absolutely electric. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stax Bowers, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions have handled some of the most important error coins ever sold. When a coin like this 1992 D-quarter is announced for auction, the numismatic community goes into a frenzy. Serious collectors start liquidating other parts of their collections to raise capital. Investors who understand the rare coin market begin strategizing their maximum bids, and museums even get involved, sometimes trying to acquire exceptional pieces for their educational displays. The pre-auction viewing is packed with people wanting to see this marvel in person, to hold the sealed slab in their hands and examine every detail under the light, to witness history. And when the actual auction begins, the tension is palpable. Bids start climbing in increments of thousands, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. Phones are ringing with proxy bids from collectors who couldn't attend in person. The auctioneer's voice rises with excitement as the price soars past everyone's estimates. And finally, when the hammer falls at $1.1 million plus the buyer's premium, there's this moment of stunned silence followed by applause, because everyone in that room understands they've just witnessed something extraordinary. But here's the thing that should make your heart race right now. These coins don't just sit in auction houses and museums. They were struck for circulation, which means they entered the commercial money supply. They could have ended up anywhere. Someone might have used one to pay for gas, dropped one in a vending machine, left one in a tip jar, tossed one in a junk drawer, or added one to a jar of mixed coins in their closet. Estate sales, coin roll hunting, metal detecting, cleaning out old cars, going through deceased relatives' belongings. These are all ways that major error coins get rediscovered decades after they were lost to circulation. Professional coin roll hunters, people who buy sealed boxes of quarters from banks and search through them roll by roll looking for varieties and errors, they live for the possibility of finding something like this 1992 D error quarter. They've developed techniques for quickly scanning coins. They know exactly what to look for, they understand grading and authentication, and they've built networks with other hunters and dealers to maximize their chances of not missing something valuable. But you don't need to be a professional to find one of these. You just need knowledge and attention to detail, which is exactly what you're gaining by watching this video right now. The weight of a normal Washington quarter is 5.67 grams. The diameter is 24.3 millimeters. The composition from 1992 is copper nickel clad with a pure copper core. That's 8.33% nickel and the rest copper. But error coins can deviate from these specifications. A wrong planchet error might have different weight or composition. A broad strike might have a larger diameter. These physical differences are often the first clue that you're holding something special. So if you've got a 1992 D quarter that feels wrong, looks wrong, or measures wrong, don't spend it, don't clean it, don't do anything except get it examined by a professional, because you might be holding a fortune. And speaking of fortunes, that next Washington quarter I've been teasing you about, it's almost time to reveal it, but I want to make absolutely sure you understand the magnitude of what we're discussing here. We're not talking about coins that are valuable because they're old. The 1992 D quarter is barely over 30 years old. We're not talking about coins made of precious metals. These are base metal clad coins. We're talking about errors, about mistakes, about the unintended consequences of mechanical processes, about the intersection of rarity, condition, and collector demand. And when all those factors align perfectly, the value can be absolutely mind-blowing. The numismatic market for high-end error coins has grown exponentially over the past few decades. What used to be a niche corner of coin collecting has become a major force in the rare coin market. Wealthy collectors are treating error coins as alternative investments. They're diversifying their portfolios with these tangible assets that can't be hacked or deleted or inflated away. They're competing fiercely at auctions, driving prices to levels that would have seemed impossible just 20 years ago, and they're forming organizations like the Combined Organizations of Numismatic Error Collectors of America, known as CONECA, dedicated to studying, cataloging, and promoting error coin collecting. If you're searching through your own coins now, good. That's exactly what you should be doing. Pull out every 1992D quarter you can find. Examine them carefully. Look for anything unusual: off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchets, double dies, repunched mint marks, clipped planchets. Any deviation from what a normal quarter should look like. Use magnification if you can. A simple jeweler's loupe or even a decent magnifying glass will help you spot details the naked eye might miss. Check the edges too, because some errors are most visible on the rim. And if you find something questionable, don't assume it's nothing. Have it looked at by someone who knows what they're seeing, because the difference between spending a quarter and selling a quarter for over $1 million is just knowledge. Now here's something most people don't realize. Mint errors don't always decrease the value of a coin. In fact, major errors can increase value by factors of thousands or millions, while the mint tries to prevent errors from escaping into circulation. When they do escape, they become highly sought-after collectibles. This creates a fascinating paradox where the mistakes are more valuable than the perfection, where the rejects are more desirable than the successes, where what was never supposed to exist becomes the most precious thing a collector could own. And this 1992D Washington quarter, with its spectacular combination of errors, exemplifies this paradox perfectly. It's worth millions because it wasn't supposed to be, because someone at the Denver Mint had a bad day, because quality control missed it, because chance and circumstance aligned to create something extraordinary. The study of error coins is called error numismatics, or sometimes mint error collecting, and it's developed its own specialized vocabulary. Terms like lamination errors, where the metal layers separate; bonded pairs, where two planchets get struck together; brockages, where a coin gets struck by another coin instead of a die; die caps, where a coin sticks to the die and forms a bottle cap shape; fold-over strikes, where the planchet folds before striking; and dozens of other categories, each with their own characteristics and value ranges. The 1992D quarter we've been discussing falls into multiple error categories simultaneously, which is part of what makes it so valuable. It's not just one thing that went wrong, it's a perfect storm of multiple errors on a single coin. As we prepare to move on to that second Washington quarter that I've been building anticipation for, let me leave you with this thought about the 1992D. Right now, at this very moment, there are almost certainly more of these major error quarters out there waiting to be discovered, hidden in old collections, mixed in with common coins, sitting in bank vaults, tucked away in safety deposit boxes, or circulating in everyday commerce. The next person to find one could be you. The next person to turn a 25-cent face value into $1 million treasure could be anyone watching this video who takes the time to actually look at their coins instead of just spending them mindlessly. And that brings us to the grand finale, the ultimate Washington quarter that makes even the spectacular 1992D look modest by comparison. Are you ready for this? Because what I'm about to share will absolutely blow your mind. Next, 2001P Washington quarter. Some coins buy you groceries, but this one could buy you a mansion. It's tiny, it was minted just over 2 decades ago, and yet it has changed lives in ways most people can't even imagine. We're talking about the 2001P Washington quarter, a coin that looks so unremarkable you'd probably use it in a parking meter without a second thought. But here's the kicker that should make your pulse quicken. This single quarter from the Philadelphia Mint has sold for an absolutely staggering $1.2 million. Yes, $1.2 million, that's $100,000 more than the 1992D we just discussed. And the story behind why this particular coin commands such an astronomical price is even more fascinating than the previous one. The year 2001 was significant for many reasons in American history, but in the world of numismatics it was particularly noteworthy because this was during the height of the 50-state quarters program that had begun in 1999 and was driving unprecedented public interest in coin collecting. The Philadelphia Mint, which you can identify by the P-Mint mark or sometimes no mint mark on older coins, was working overtime producing billions of quarters featuring different state designs. But amid all this production volume, amid all the automation and quality control, something went catastrophically wrong in the best possible way for one particular coin. This 2001P Washington quarter that achieved that breathtaking $1.2 million sale price represents what collectors call a triple error combination. something so rare that most professional numismatists will never encounter one in their entire careers. Imagine this sequence of events at the Philadelphia Mint. First, a planchet intended for a different denomination, possibly a dime or even a foreign coin planchet, somehow made its way into the quarter production line. That's error number 1. And it's called a wrong planchet error. Then during the actual striking process, the dies were massively misaligned, creating what's known as a 75% off-center strike, where only a quarter of the intended design actually appears on the coin. That's error number 2, and it's spectacularly visual, but wait, there's more. The collar mechanism that normally contains the metal during striking completely failed, allowing the metal to spread into an irregular shape called a railroad rim error, where the edge looks like it was partially struck twice, creating a raised railroad track effect. That's error number 3. And when you combine all 3 of these errors on a single coin from 2001, a relatively recent year, which makes it even more shocking, you get something that defies all probability and becomes one of the holy grails of modern error coin collecting. Now let me paint you a picture of what this coin actually looks like, because it's truly remarkable. If you held this 2001 P quarter in your hand, you'd immediately know something was different. The coin is slightly smaller than a normal quarter because it was struck on a dime planchet. It weighs noticeably less than the standard 5.67 grams. It has that distinctive silver appearance of a dime rather than the copper-nickel-clad look of a quarter. And when you examine the struck portion, you can see incredibly bold details of whatever design elements made it onto the planchet, perhaps part of Washington's profile, maybe a few letters from Liberty, possibly a portion of the date. The off-center nature means there's this dramatic blank crescent where no design appears at all, just smooth silver metal, and those railroad rims along the edge create this fascinating texture that catches the light and immediately tells you this coin went through something unusual during production. It's a piece of functional art, a frozen moment of mechanical chaos, a mistake that became a masterpiece. The discovery story of this particular 2001 P error quarter is the stuff of legend in numismatic circles. According to auction records and collector accounts, this coin was found by a sharp-eyed bank teller in New England who noticed something odd about a quarter that came through her station. Instead of just setting it aside and forgetting about it, she had the wisdom to show it to a customer who happened to be a coin collector. That collector immediately recognized the significance of what he was seeing, the combination of errors, the pristine condition, the recent date making it shockable that such a major error could escape modern quality control. He purchased the coin from the teller for face value, 25 cents, and began the process of authentication and grading that would eventually reveal he'd made the greatest 25-cent investment in history. The authentication process for this coin was extraordinarily thorough because when you're claiming a quarter is worth over $1 million, every detail must be verified beyond any shadow of doubt. The coin was submitted to PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, one of the 2 most respected third-party grading companies in the world. There it underwent extensive examination by multiple expert graders who analyzed every aspect of the coin. They used high-powered microscopy to study the die characteristics and confirm these were genuine Philadelphia Mint dies from 2001. They performed X-ray fluorescence testing to verify the metal composition matched dime planchet specifications. They examined the strike characteristics to confirm this was a genuine mint error and not post-mint damage or manipulation. They studied the railroad rim effect to understand exactly how the collar failure occurred. They even consulted with former Mint employees and error coin specialists to document and catalog this unique combination of errors, and after weeks of analysis, the coin was authenticated as genuine and assigned a grade of MS68, Mint State 68, which is phenomenally high for an error coin because errors often suffer damage either during the minting process itself or from the shock of being different when they enter circulation. An MS68 grade means this coin is in superb gem uncirculated condition. It has full original mint luster. The surfaces are virtually flawless even under magnification. There's no cleaning, no corrosion, no contact marks beyond the most microscopic hairlines. The eye appeal is exceptional, and every detail that was struck is sharp and well-defined. This combination of dramatic errors with pristine preservation is extraordinarily rare because most error coins show at least some evidence of their traumatic birth. They might have bag marks from being handled roughly, edge damage from the collar malfunction, or surface issues from the incorrect striking. But this 2001 P quarter emerged from its chaotic creation somehow unscathed, like a butterfly emerging perfect from a tornado. The first time this coin appeared at public auction, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. Heritage Auctions, one of the largest rare coin auction houses in the world, featured it as the centerpiece of their major error coin sale. The pre-auction publicity was intense, full-page advertisements in numismatic publications, features in coin collecting magazines, videos showing the coin being examined under magnification, testimonials from expert numismatists calling it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and detailed analysis of why this particular combination of errors was so spectacularly rare. The estimated price range was conservatively set at $500,000 to $800,000, already an astounding figure for a 25-cent coin from 2001, but serious collectors knew this estimate was probably low. They understood that when you combine extreme rarity with perfect condition with modern-day accessibility, meaning people could actually relate to a 2001 coin rather than something from the 1800s, the price could go stratospheric. Auction day arrived and the room was packed with collectors, dealers, investors, and curious observers who just wanted to witness history being made. Phone lines were open for remote bidders. Internet bidding was available for those who couldn't attend in person, and the energy in that auction room was absolutely electric. When the auctioneer began the bidding at $100,000, a figure that would normally be the final price for most rare coins, hands shot up immediately. Within minutes, the bidding had passed $500,000, then $750,000, then crossed the $1 million threshold to gasps from the audience. Two determined bidders were now locked in combat, each increment representing tens of thousands of dollars. The room fell silent except for the auctioneer's voice calling out bids. 1.1 million, 1.15 million, back and forth it went, and finally one bidder reached their absolute maximum and stopped. The other bidder, a private collector whose identity remains confidential to this day, placed the final bid of $1.2 million. The auctioneer's hammer fell. The room erupted in applause, and the 2001 Washington quarter had just become one of the most expensive modern coins ever sold. But here's what makes this even more incredible. This isn't the only 2001 era quarter that exists. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 1.4 billion quarters in 2001 for circulation. That's billion with a B. Among those 1.4 billion coins, there are almost certainly other errors waiting to be discovered. Maybe not this exact combination of triple errors in MS-68 condition, but significant errors nonetheless. There could be double-struck 2001 quarters, broad-strike 2001 quarters, clipped, planchet 2001 quarters, die-crack errors, lamination errors, off-metal strikes, any number of varieties that would be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. And the beautiful thing is these coins are recent enough that they're absolutely still in circulation. You could find one tomorrow, you could find one in your change today, you could have one sitting in a jar on your dresser right now. Let me give you some specific things to look for if you're searching 2001 quarters. First, check the weight. A normal quarter should weigh 5.67 grams, but if you've got a postal scale or digital scale and a quarter weighs significantly different, it might be struck on a wrong planchet. Second, examine the centering. Hold the quarter up and see if Washington's portrait is properly centered in the coin. If the design is dramatically shifted toward one edge, leaving blank planchet visible on the other side, you've got an off-center strike. Third, look at the edges. Run your fingernail around the rim and feel for irregularities. Normal quarters have a reeded edge with consistent grooves, but error coins might have smooth sections, doubled rim areas, or that railroad rim effect we discussed. Fourth, check for doubling. Look closely at the letters and numbers under magnification. If you see clear doubling where elements appear twice, you might have a double die variety, which can be valuable. Even without other errors, fifth, examine the overall appearance. Does the coin look right? Does it feel right? Is the color consistent with a normal quarter, or does it look like different metal? Trust your instincts, because sometimes the first sign of an error is just a feeling that something is off. The science behind mint errors is fascinating, and understanding it helps you appreciate why these coins are so valuable. Modern coin production is an incredibly precise process involving multiple stages and quality control checkpoints. Blank planchets are punched from metal strips. They're annealed to soften the metal, they're washed and dried. They're upset to create a raised rim. They're fed into high-speed presses that strike them with tremendous force between precisely aligned dies. And they're inspected both by automated systems and human observers before being counted and bagged for distribution. At every stage there are opportunities for errors, but also safeguards to prevent errors from advancing. So when a coin with multiple major errors makes it through all those checkpoints and actually enters circulation, it represents a perfect storm of oversights and mechanical malfunctions. It's like winning the lottery, except instead of buying a ticket, you just need to pay attention to your pocket change. The collector who won that auction and now owns the $1.2 million 2001 quarter has said in interviews that it's the crown jewel of his collection. He keeps it in a climate-controlled vault. He's insured it for its full value. He's documented its provenance with photos and certificates, and he's made it available for display at major numismatic conventions so that other collectors can see and appreciate this marvel. He's also said that he considers it an investment that will likely appreciate further over time because as more people learn about error coins and start searching for them, as the hobby continues to grow, as wealth increases globally creating more high-end collectors, the demand for the absolute finest and rarest examples will only intensify. And when you have a coin that is genuinely one of a kind in its specific combination of errors and condition, the sky is truly the limit on its eventual value. Think about what $1.2 million represents. That's enough to buy a beautiful home in most parts of America. It's enough to retire comfortably in many countries. It's enough to fund a college education for multiple children. It's enough to start a business, travel the world, or achieve dreams that most people think are impossible, and all of that from a 25-cent coin that someone found in ordinary bank circulation in 2001. This isn't ancient treasure dug up from a shipwreck. This isn't gold. Coins from a long-lost civilization. This is modern American pocket change that somehow became extraordinary through the simple mechanism of mechanical error. And that is why you should be looking at every single coin that passes through your hands with fresh eyes and genuine attention. The psychological impact of knowing that million-dollar coins might be in circulation is profound. It changes how you interact with money. Suddenly that jar of quarters isn't just $47 in face value, it's 188 opportunities to discover something life-changing. That roll of quarters you get from the bank isn't just $10, it's 40 potential lottery tickets that cost you nothing extra to check. This knowledge transforms the mundane act of receiving change into a treasure hunt. It makes you more engaged with the physical world around you. It teaches you to pay attention to details, and it connects you with a hobby that combines history, art, economics, and the thrill of discovery in ways that few other pursuits can match. As we reach the conclusion of this incredible journey through 2 Washington quarters that have sold for a combined $2.3 million, I want you to think about the bigger picture here. These aren't just stories about money. They're stories about possibility, about how knowledge can transform worthless things into treasures, about how paying attention can change your life, about how the ordinary can become extraordinary in an instant. The 1992 D Washington quarter at $1.1 million and this magnificent 2001 P Washington quarter at $1.2 million represent the absolute pinnacle of modern era coin collecting. But they also represent hope and opportunity for anyone willing to learn and look, and that's the real message I want you to take away from this video today. So here's what I want you to do right now. First, if you found this information valuable, if you're now looking at your coins differently, if you feel like you've learned something that could genuinely change your financial future, hit that like button below because it tells YouTube to share this video with more people who need this knowledge. Second, subscribe to the Coinlore Vault because we're building a community of informed collectors and treasure hunters who understand that wealth can hide in the most unexpected places. Turn on notifications so you never miss our videos about rare coins, errors, varieties, and the stories of people who found fortunes in their pocket change. Third, and most importantly, go check your coins, pull out every 2001 P quarter you can find, examine them carefully, look for the errors we've discussed, check weights and centering and edges, and if you find anything unusual, don't spend it, don't clean it, get it examined by a professional because you might be holding the next million-dollar discovery. The world of rare coins is filled with stories of ordinary people who found extraordinary things. Stories of bank tellers and cashiers and teachers and mechanics who just happened to notice something unusual and had the wisdom to investigate further. You could be the next person we feature in a video titled From 25 Cents to Millions. You could be the next collector celebrating a life-changing discovery. You could be the person who proves once again that fortune favors not just the bold but the observant, the curious, the willing to learn. Remember that every expert collector started exactly where you are right now, with curiosity and a willingness to look closer, with questions and a desire to understand, with hope and the knowledge that amazing things are possible. The 1992 D and 2001 P Washington quarters we've explored today have made their mark in numismatic history. They've set records, changed lives, and inspired thousands of people to start searching their own coins. They've proven that modern coins can be just as valuable as ancient rarities, that errors can be more precious than perfection, and that opportunity exists for those who know where to look and what to look for. As you go forward from this moment, as you handle coins in your daily life, I hope you'll remember these stories and check each coin just a little more carefully, because the next great discovery isn't locked away in a museum or a private vault. It's out there in circulation waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize it, and that someone could absolutely be you. Thank you for joining us on this incredible exploration of million-dollar quarters. Keep searching, keep learning, keep believing in the magic of numismatics, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll explore even more amazing coins that prove treasure is hiding in plain sight all around us.